risen? So in my ancient liturgical language we have a Easter resurrection reading. In English it translates to Christ is risen from the dead with great power and authority. He has put Satan in chains. He has set Adam free. Peace henceforth let there be joy and peace. In Ge'ez, in our ancient liturgical language, that is Christos tense'a mutan, ba'bi hayl wa sultan, asolo le Satan, agazo la adam, salam imizese kona fisaha wa salam. So it's an honor, it's a privilege, it's a blessing to be here with you all today. Reverend Father, thank you for giving me a few minutes just to reflect a little bit about today's gospel. So Luke chapter 9, verses 51 to 62. In it, Christ gives us a very interesting and very challenging message. I have spent a lot of time between yesterday and today contemplating this gospel excerpt and want to just give some reflections. So in it, Christ is essentially sharing four big things. First, he's talking about the full commitment that we are expected to give as Christians, to set our face towards Him, to set our face towards Christ. The second thing that he emphasizes is the price, the cost of discipleship. This is a very difficult cost to pay. It is something that we are expected to shoulder this burden as Christians. The third thing is no looking back. He emphasizes that we should not be looking back. If we are committed to Christ, if we have set our face towards Christ, then that's it. The rest doesn't matter. Nothing else matters. And then the fourth thing is there's an urgency of the mission. There's an urgency here for Christ. There's an urgency for the kingdom of God, and that we should not delay, even if it is to bury the dead, right? We should be delaying. But that's kind of hard, right? That's hard. So when he asks for our commitment, does that commitment necessarily mean perfection? No. Because the same disciples that he spoke to, the same disciples that he taught, just a few days later would be the ones to deny him, would be the ones to betray him, would be the ones to question him. And that's the beauty of our faith. Christ does not demand perfection, he demands commitment. There's a big difference between the two. To be Christian is to understand that yesterday I fell, today I will fall, tomorrow I will fall, the day after that I will fall again. But as we just went through this Holy Great Lent, the lesson is not so much are you falling or are you standing. The question is, are you setting your face towards God? Am I setting my face towards God? This daily reminder that yes, I have many distractions in this world, but am I continuously going back to the source? Am I also repenting? Am I also fasting? Am I also praying? Those are the things that we are expected. So there's a big difference between direction and perfection. And then there's a big difference between availability, our availability, the openness of our hearts, the availability of our hearts, versus our abilities. As humans, our abilities are limited. No matter how much we may try, we will be tempted, we will fall, and that is just an inevitability of humanity. That said, what completes us is Christ. And so knowing that on our end, that is what wisdom is, knowing our limitations and knowing how to and when to seek the Lord, that is Christianity. And so for me, when I think of Luke 9:51 to 62, what I'm reminded of and what I thought a lot about over today and yesterday was earlier in Luke chapter 9, Christ talks about denying yourself and taking up the cross. This is something that is repeated in all four of the Gospels, denying yourself and taking up the cross daily. One of my favorite Bible verses is Matthew 5:9. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. It's interesting because Christ says, blessed are the peacemakers. He doesn't say, blessed are the peaceful. There's a big difference between being peaceful and being a peacemaker. The peaceful is the one that says, you know what? I'm at peace with myself. The world can burn. I'm fine. But the peacemaker is the one who actually steps into the tension, who steps into the chaos, who steps into the fire and says, hey, let me do something about this. If the cross is my shield, if the cross is my weapon, then I cannot and should not be afraid. I was reminded of this at the beginning of Lent. I was talking to this priest that I've gotten very close to, and we were discussing the different, I think all of us know, all of our churches have different challenges, and in the Ethiopian church we have a lot of political issues, we have a lot of ethnic issues, but there are many who are trying to bridge the divide and bring healing to the church. But I was telling this priest how, all these divisions have caused me a lot of headache, and I've decided to wash my hands and walk away. And he reminded me, no, that's not actually what you should do. Remember, blessed are the peacemakers. You don't just walk away when there is chaos or at the first sign of tension. To be Christian is to live in that tension. And it's something that I've contemplated a lot over these past several weeks throughout Lent, thinking, and I don't have a full answer for it yet, but what is my role and what is the role of the Christian in tension? Our world is on fire today. This country is on fire. Our homelands, my family's from Ethiopia, your family's from India. Everywhere is chaotic today. But through and with Christ, we can find some peace, we can find some understanding. And so it is incumbent upon all of us. It is something that I have to remind myself every single day. As a Christian, what does it mean to live in that tension? I teach political science at Tufts University in Medford. I work daily in politics. There's a lot of tension, there's a lot of chaos, there's a lot of uncertainty, there's a lot of backstabbing in politics. That said, what there isn't a lot of is a lot of Christ in politics. And so, as Christians, whether we work in politics or whether you work in medicine or whether you work wherever, at a coffee shop, doesn't matter where you work, there is always going to be tension. And through that tension, we can persevere and we can prevail by picking up that cross. And it's something that I have to try to remind myself every day. So as we think about today's gospel, and just my own challenges that I've been reflecting on throughout Lent, especially with Matthew chapter 5, verse 9, I just want to remind us again the four big things that Christ is asking for us in this answer. He's asking for our full commitment. He's not asking for perfection, but he's asking for us to be available, to be willing to have an open heart. He's asking us to understand that being a disciple will be pricey at sometimes. There may be a time in our life where we will have to pay a price for being a Christian. Maybe it is a price that you will have to pay at work. Maybe there is something that you will choose not to do at work because it is against our Christian values. Or maybe there is something within your family dynamics that you will choose not to do because of our Christian values. The other day, I met a Somalian woman, and if you know anything about Somalia, 99.9% of Somalia is Muslim. This young woman, she's getting her degree at Boston University, and she's converting to Orthodox Christianity. And I was blown away by this, and I was asking her, well, what does your family think? And she looked at me and she said, well, what do you think? And I said, well, I can only imagine there's a lot of tension there, but that's the cost of discipleship. And in her case, the cost of discipleship as a Somali was to say, you know what, if I have to be isolated from my family to get closer to God, to get closer to Christ, to get closer to my heavenly family, so be it. That's a challenging thing. And, in theory, we may understand that, but how many of us are willing to pay that full price, whatever that is? That's a challenging question. The third thing, again, no looking back. There are going to be many times in our lives where we're going to make a decision and we're going to want to look back. We're going to want to think, well, I could have done this, I should have done this, I may have a regret or whatever. But again, that's not what Christ is asking us to do. He's asking us, set your face forward, set your face towards Christ. Again, and then the urgency of the mission, right? The kingdom of God, the kingdom of heaven is at hand. We do not know the time. We do not know when or where Christ will return. We have to always be